Hello. How are you guys doing? I was just having my lunch. How are you guys doing? Hello. So we are back. We actually maintained our consistency this time, and we will be continuing our work on MCP. In the last stream, we started our work with the invoice management system, which we picked up as a random project to just have a POC on what MCP is and how MCP works. But yeah, we found the project interesting, and now we are sticking to it. And I'm just having my lunch. We have 2 more minutes as per the time I scheduled for the live stream, which is 2:30. So I'm just gonna have a few more bites, and you can enjoy me having these bites. Uh, so how are you guys doing? And were you in the live stream last day or not? That's what I wanna know. And come on, guys, where is the community? Why don't we have more people in? Are you guys not engaging enough with the videos? If that's what's happening. That's that's not good. Come on. So we are done with the last couple of bites we had. Now we're going to start with the project that we have been working on. So this is where we left off. This is the Cloud configuration we set up for the Cloud desktop application, and we were able to work with our MCP on the desktop app. Now what we wanted to do is we wanted to use that same desktop application for building the complete MCP, where we want to have the post request for the items as well. We only set up the post for the invoice metadata. If you are just joining on the stream, I would recommend that you had seen the previous stream first. And if you have not, we basically built a very simple MCP, just a baseline, and we were able to upload any kind of image in it and any invoice image in it, and it was able to extract the data from that invoice image and fill that up in a Google Sheet. And yeah, so this is basically what we did, and we worked with Cloud Desktop for now. And this is the GitHub repo we are working with. I'll just paste the link for this GitHub repo in the chat itself so that it's easier for you guys, and then we can continue on it. How did I paste this thing again from YouTube? Yeah. So you can clone this repo and start working from where we left off in the previous stream. Until then, we will be working on next to-dos inside of this. So today our goal is to complete the server first of all. This is more of the advanced use cases of this server, so we'll not be going into too much detail with this, but we will be completing our uploading and retrieving part, and we will also be connecting the Gemini API to our MCP server so that we start working with them. Gemini, we are still working with Cloud Desktop's free Cloud instance that they have provided, but for a scalable solution, we want to work with APIs. So that's what we are going to do. So this is the GitHub repo for the project. I'm just going to pin this in the chat for anyone that is just joining and want to clone the repo and starts following along. And the people who have already seen the previous stream, I hope you have the code base already, or you're just watching it for the ideas and stuff. So just, yeah, we are getting started already, or you're just watching really appreciate your ideas and stuff. So we are working on this. Yesterday we had someone called Ayush in the stream, and we discussed some amazing ideas with him, and it was really fun to have that stream with him. So I expect a lot of those guys, similar guys, to join in and have a community built around that. So yeah, that's great. Let's get started without any further ado. So yeah, let's first complete our loading part. So we'll have to go into the server for that, and inside of the server we have this server.py where we have all of our endpoints, and inside this endpoint we just basically created a module where we had the sheet uploader had a function which is called add row, and that add row just basically uploaded anything we gave to it. So it just took a bunch of rows, which is a list of lists, and it just uploaded that into our system, which is our Google Sheets for now. We are using Google Sheets as a database. I know Google doesn't recommend it, but we just started off with it because it's pretty visual and it's completely straightforward for someone who is just starting all of this work and haven't worked with DBs and backend for that instance. So that's why it's easier for them to relate to the street. So yeah, we are starting off with this, but as we have to expand the project, if you can see in the to-dos, we also mentioned that we want to work on a analytics based side of this project where we can actually do some forecasting on the invoice data and gain some useful insights from the data itself, not just store the invoices and get the information on the invoices, but actually gain some inference from the invoices that we have uploaded. For that, we'll be requiring more complex queries, and I think at that point we'll have to shift to some kind of a SQL or other kind of a rich data store. But for now, we are okay with Google Sheets because it's pretty visual and it's easier for someone who is just starting with all of this kind of projects and want to understand how data is actually getting stored and be pretty visual about it. You can be visual with the PG admin thing, but yeah, it's okay. That's just, you have to form DB connections, you have to understand the ads, the commits inside the DB, whatever. We are just working with this. So yesterday we made this upload invoice data endpoint where we were able to upload all of this data from an invoice. Now, if I just show you a sample invoice looks like, it would be something like this. So here you have your invoice, the seller information, client information, invoice number, date of issue, and your item description, and your final summary of the invoice. So we were able to store the invoice metadata in the previous stream where we were uploading the date, invoice number, seller information using Cloud Desktop's MCP integration. We were just using Cloud Desktop yesterday. We hadn't set up the Gemini connection with our MCP server yet. That's what we are going to do today. And other than that, we also need to store the item information, which we haven't created an endpoint for yet. So I think we did create an endpoint, but we haven't populated that endpoint yet. So that's the thing we need to do. So if I can just find my server.py file, which is right here. So this two endpoints we need to set up today, which is get invoice data from Sheets and save item wise data to Sheets. So let's get started without any further ado. And for anyone who is just starting off with MCPs, the basic idea is that the client, which is your LLM, gets information regarding your input schema whenever you create an endpoint, which is a MCP tool, your name of that particular function and your doc string. So you want to make sure that your doc strings, your input schema, and your function name are as descriptive as possible, because at that way the model will actually be able to understand when and how to use this particular endpoint and what kind of input the endpoint expects, so that it can run properly without any errors. And yeah, your return should have some information about how you have successfully uploaded anything and any metadata that you want to give regarding a successful upload, and all of that is here. So this is how we set up a MCP. If you have worked with fast API in the past, this might be looking very similar to that. Now let's get started with this second endpoint where we want to store item-wise data. But before working on that, we'll have to see what all from the invoice metadata do we want to store inside of the item data sheet. So let's just quickly see what all do we want to store inside. So I'm just going to reveal it in Finder, open it in preview, and then we can just have our Google Sheets in this side by side so that we can quickly see what all columns we want to create in this. So that's why I like I don't as such like Google Sheets. I just wanted to work with it because it's easier for anyone. And but yeah, that's one thing about Google Sheets, that you can easily create your DB schemas. You don't have to worry about type checking and anything yet. And then when you're okay with it, when your POC is ready with Google Sheets, you can actually shift to a SQL store and try to optimize or normalize your data. And as you have already worked with the columns and stuff, you will have a better idea of what all kind of queries you will have to expect from the user. So that's why Google Sheet in some sense makes sense. So yeah, from the invoice, what all do we need in terms of items? So we need the invoice number again. That's something we'll need to connect it to the invoice metadata sheet. So invoice number will still be needed. Other than that, oh wow. Other than that, we will need, do we need the date of issue here? If you already have the date of issue there, nah, I don't think so. We can have item description. Serial number, I don't think we need to store. I don't think it has too much information in it. We need to store quantity. And we need to store I'm not sure what means. Unit of measure. Oh yeah, I guess it's unit of measure. That makes sense. And then we have net price. Then you have net worth. And then you have your VAT percentage. Oh wow, if only I can type. I think I'm saying this in a lot of streams that if only I can type. I think I'm just not able to type lately. Maybe because I'm using a different keyboard at home and a different keyboard at office. That explains it. And then you finally have gross worth. So those are your different columns you want to store regarding your item. I don't think there is any more relevant information that you can store about an item. So this should be it. Let's just try to prettify it a bit. There you go. Bold it up and form some borders around it. Just what we did in the previous video as well. And as we are doing all of this, let's also wrap this up. So in the format wrapping, and in fact, let's do it for all the columns. It's easier to visualize that way. Wrapping, wrap. Good. So this all is done. We have the sheet ready now. We know what columns we need to store. I'm just going to copy these columns again and store them back in our set, which is our IDE. And here I just want to create these columns as inputs. So we have invoice number, and I want to use the same name here and there so that we don't have any confusion. The LLM doesn't have multiple inputs to worry about. It's going to be an int. Then you have the description. Let's call it item description, just again to clear any kind of confusion. And one more choice that we are making here is that we could have ended up using like a different endpoint where the LLM gives the information as a list for each one of them, and then we use that list to actually update all of our information. But here we are instead hoping the LLM will use the itemized configuration. So basically what I'm talking about is that, just to make it more clear, that we have a different number of items inside of our invoice. We have a long list of items that can be there inside of an invoice. Now when we are giving this to an LLM and asking it to use an endpoint to basically upload all of this data into a sheet, there are two ways of doing it. Either the LLM will send a single request where it will send a list of all of this information, and then I'll be parsing it and storing it inside of the Google Sheet. Or the LLM can make multiple calls for each single row inside of this, and that row will get updated inside of our Google Sheet. So those are the two ways this thing can go about. Now in this video, in yesterday's stream, I was discussing that maybe it's better to just have multiple calls, and the LLM will itself figure out that for each item it have to call individually, which is what we most probably will be doing. But another way of doing this will be to make all of this other information except the invoice number to be a list, and then in the description itself inside of the doc string we will tell the LLM that you can do multiple calls. You don't have to do multiple calls. You can just send all of the data as a formed list inside of this endpoint, and we will be able to figure it out. So the LLM can do that for us. So I think let's build both of those endpoints. We'll keep one of them alive and the other one alive, and we'll see which one is working for us. If both of them works fine, we'll use the single call one, as that will reduce the latency between the server calls and the client calls. Simple setup. And if the bulk one doesn't work out for us, then we'll use the single one if that works out better. So we will try both of these different options of how do we want to store the item data inside of our Google Sheet. So for now, I'm just going to make the single call one endpoint, and then we'll build the multi-call one. So inside of the quantity, again, let's call it item quantity for it to be simpler to understand for the LLM. And it's going to be integer, I guess, or can it be float? Item quantity is a float. Okay. Then you have unit of measure. It's going to be a string. Then you have net price. That's going to be a float. Net worth is going to be float. And why is it? Oh, I'm using full stop. And is the text readable to you guys? Should I increase the text size? Is this more readable now? Do you think this is better? Anyone in the chat is actually looking at the screen, which you should. Why would you not? It's so fun to look at the screen. That's what we all do. All day doom scrolling the videos. But fine. So we have net worth, we have net price, and then we need VAT percent how did we specify VAT percent here? I just want to use the same name so that it's not confusing for the LLM. I think it was int the previous time we made it. VAT percent was int, and then gross worth is gonna be a float again. Cool. So that makes sense. Gross worth is still has the same name. Yep. And then we just need to create a doc string for this for the LLM to understand. And let's just copy this and we'll see what all we need to change. Writing is so annoying. The endpoint appends a row on Google Sheets based on the data accepted from the current information. This endpoint appends item-wise based on item-wise data extracted from the current invoice information sent by the user. Now we don't have a date anymore, so we can ignore that. Invoice number still remains the same. Select information we don't need to store here, so we can remove this. Instead, we need to store, we have the invoice number and then we have the item description. There's a string or description of the item sent by a user extracted for the item list. I just want to make it clear in the documentation itself that this endpoint will only update for a single row or for a single item inside of the invoice. So that's why I'm using this kind of specific item for which row is being updated in Google Sheets for in the current call, so that the LLM knows it needs to make multiple calls to this endpoint. And then you have your item quantity, which is going to have a very similar description. Then you have unit of measure, again very similar. So this is the boring part of making a MCP, but hey, you need to learn how to make these docs. If you're building on a production ready software, you will have to make these doc strings anyway. So it is the boring part of making an MCP, but you actually need to be able to do this so that it's easier for other guys to read your code, and it's anyway like instilling good practices inside of your daily coding habits. So I think it makes sense, not bad in that sense. So yeah, and then you have your unit price, which is going to be a float. And again, it's very similar. Then you have net worth, again remains the same. VAT percent, there's no VAT anymore, there's only VAT percent. And then you have gross worth. So yeah, everything remains the same, I guess, below here. We can look into some prompt optimization techniques as well for the doc string we are creating right now. We are just creating the doc strings as redundant as possible and to be as informative, but in some sense we can use the same prompt optimization techniques we use for a normal LLM in the tool calls when we are specifying the doc string to it. So that can also make sense. So for now this is okay, we don't worry about it too much. Then you have the VAT percent truncated to an integer, and then finally you have gross worth. Cool. So we have all the endpoints ready. Now we just need to call the add row function that we created previously. I'm just gonna copy this, as this works exactly the same way. We are just gonna change some things. So instead of invoice, it's gonna be item, and then instead of date, we are just gonna have invoice number this time. Invoice number, then we have the item description, then you have item quantity. Oh, not description, price. Damn, no one has joined the stream today. What's happening, guys? Why are you not here? What is not entertaining to you? Just let me know in the comments. No, what do you want it to be? What do you think would be more entertaining and will help you engage further? Because we are making cool projects, but I just think something is not allowing you to stick back here, or maybe the project is not cool enough for you. At that point, you need to recommend a better project, and I'll just be as ready to make that project with you guys on stream and listen to your ideas and basically build it with you. So yeah, come on. Cool. So we have this endpoint ready. We can actually test it with the cloud desktop thing, and we can also update our readme now. So inside of our readme, we had upload item data in Google Sheet. That part should be done. We just have to test the function once, and then we have to check MCP endpoints for uploading data. What does that mean? Okay, for both of the data, I've created another one. Well, yeah, this is the same as this one. So I'm just gonna remove this from the to-do list. Now we have to build the retrieval based on invoice number. That's the only retrieval I want right now. So I'm just gonna go and search both the sheets, which is my invoice sheet and the item sheet, and I'm just gonna bring back all of my invoice number based rows from there, whatever row matches the invoice number sent by the LLM at the point, and then I'm just gonna present that item data and that invoice data to the LLM for it to chat with the user for that specific invoice number. So that's the idea there. So let's go back to our server.py. I'm just going to have it here. It makes more sense to be here. We don't even need to worry about the sheet uploader right now, so we don't care. And in fact, instead of calling it sheet uploader, let's just call it sheet interface, because we now going to write the get query from here as well. Sheet interface, let's just call it that, and then we'll have to update our server. So instead use sheet interface. This works, and here we're gonna have get rows, and then we're gonna have the column number that we want to compare. So target column, our key that we want to compare, so our key, or let's just go an item the key. Like in Python we generally relate the key to be actually our target column name. So instead of calling it key, let's just call it target value. So you have your target value, which can be again a string or a int or a float. Then you have your target column, which will definitely be an int, and then you're gonna have your data type. So data type is again remains the same. Yeah, so here what we want to do is we want to somehow from the get client, we need to get a get request here where we get all the rows from that particular sheet that match that target column. So how do we write get queries? And using the builder, we are using the builder, right? Yeah, so we are using the builder. So service.spreadsheet, or we can just find it here. So get, in fact, you know what, I think LLMs are the best candidate for these kind of things. I mean, I know I can read documentation, and we should avoid using LLMs for most of the cases. Like, not most of the cases you can use LLMs, but at the same time it just reduces a lot of overhead from your side to actually think about the problem. But we know the problem. We can do it in PostgreSQL. We can write the queries, but we don't know how Google Sheet handles it, and it's not something that we want to be too aware of, because we're not gonna stick with Google Sheets anyway. So it's fine. It's fine in my head. So uh, how to get all rows here? Target. Hold on. Yeah, that should be it. Using the build API. Let's see, we're just gonna have a quick solution from there, and let's see how have they done this sample. So they have built the builder, this is fine, and you have to result filter rows in your application. The sheet API does not provide a SQL style where query, so you need to handle the filtering in your code to get rows columns status is approved. Oh, I will have to actually do it. Oh, that's annoying. Use filter views API side. Okay, this looks even more complicated. How are we doing this? Text equality and user enter value, target value, and then you're gonna have, okay, dot batch update. Why is it called batch update? That makes no sense. What should we use, man? Use, what do you guys think? Should we get all the data instead? So we know Google Sheets would not be as scalable as we thought it would be, right? If we are using the get all data, we'll have to get all the rows from the DB first, and then we'll have to filter it on our end, and then we give that to user. So if the DB increases too much, you will have to get too many rows, your filter will be too slow, and you will be annoyed at the end of the day. So do we want that? I don't think. Alternative is to use filter views. I think I'm just gonna use some other model for this. I don't trust the solution they are providing. Let's just use Claude. We have Claude desktop already open. Why not? Yep, they are also providing the same solution, but I don't want that. For specific columns first. Method 2, using batch get for specific columns first. Okay. So what are we doing here? So you have a target column, and you're gonna do is values.get. You can get all the values for that particular column, and you're gonna filter that column, and then you're gonna use the ranges from there. Oh, okay, that is interesting actually, to get all the rows, and use it using query function if supported. I think I'm gonna go with the second solution. It makes a little bit more sense. So you're gonna get all the data for a particular column. That shouldn't be too long. That shouldn't be too intensive of processes, because you're only getting a bunch of integers, and the teachers at max are gonna have 64 bits. So I think this should be fine enough. There should be a decent middle ground for us, which is simple enough and at the same time a working solution. So this is what our request will look like. And let's just update this code. Yeah, now let's see. Let's start worrying about these. So first of all, this is straightforward. Git config dot sheet id, and yeah, so the target column range we have to specify, and I was taking the target column as an input. So I think what we can do is I don't know if it will work ahead of A to Z, but I don't think we are going to have those many columns anyway. So in some sense, I need to convert my index to my column number for this to work. So I'm going to have an index which is 0, 1, 2 or whatever, and I want to convert that to be actually my particular like column name, whatever the column name for that sheet is. So if I'm inputting 1, it should be B. If I'm inputting 2, it should be C. Now this works fine till A to Z, but when we go ahead of that in Google Sheets, it can get a bit tricky. Um, okay, we can worry about that later, I guess. Or do we build a proper solution that works each time? If we are going out of index, what we are basically doing is we'll be starting at AA at next time, and then we'll be going AB, AC, AD. To execute that, uh, whenever we're going ahead of 26, we'll have to use the start of that another alphabet. So I think that's how Google Sheets work, right? So if you go way ahead and you add another column to the right, insert what column to the right, you're gonna have AA. So this is the same way you increment numbers in some sense. So your numbers are gonna be 26. So it's basically like having a 26. What do you call it? Ordered numbers, 26 order number, no, neither decimal nor binary, 26. So yeah, how do we do that? Okay, that should be easy. Let's just write an algorithm to do that, and let's have it inside of our helper. So inside of our helper, we're gonna write def get column name from index, and it's gonna accept any integer, which is our whole number integer, and we are gonna keep it 0 index. So I'm just gonna specify it words the given number, index number, Google Sheet very friendly column name. Inside of here, we are just gonna write a function where, okay, so what are we doing basically? Alphabets, let's just get them. There was an easier way to do it, but yeah, these are all of our alphabets, and what we're gonna do is based on our index, we're gonna get the alphabet name for it. So do that, and it's fine. I'm just gonna treat them in lowercase. But to do that, basically, for 0 to 1, 0 to 26, I have to go till A to Z, and then when the index increases, I have to basically append that index to it. So what's the nice way of writing an algorithm to do this? So first of all, let's get our final index. So our final last value will always be, okay, the easiest way of doing it is to just use exponents in that sense. So yeah. Basically what we can do is you have to get the 0th order, the first order, and the second order, and the same way you do with decimals, right? So if I can just illustrate to you, somehow it's turning into a algorithm solving problem now, but simple algorithm. Basically, whenever you have a value from 1 to 26, oh my god, what is this? Can I just use the whiteboard? No. Now can I use the whiteboard? Oh my god. Why did they took that away from me? This used to be free before without a sign up. Okay, we'll have to use this one now. We'll miss that one. So basically, when you have a decimal, right? You have numbers like this. So you have 1 1 1 1. So let's say this is your number 1111, and in this number, how do you know when to upgrade, like when to move forward? So when you are filling in the values from 0 to 10, 0 to 9, basically you are here, and then you increase the value by 1, and then you put 0. That is because you know that there is something known as your 0th power, and there is something known as your first power. So this is 10 to the power 0, and then you have 10 to the power 1. So whatever your number is, 11, if you divide it by 10 to the power 0, you will get to know its first index, which is going to be 1 in this case. Then if you again divide it by 10 to the power 1, you'll get to know its first index. So here in this case, if we divide it by 10 to the power 1, you're going to get 1 at the end of the day. That's going to be your quotient in this case, ignoring the remainders for now. So this is how you know how to display it in decimal, and same is what you do with 2 to the power 0, 2 to the power 1, and stuff like that. So in similar way, our alphabets A to Z are in some sense a number system with 26 numbers in it, and A to Z represents those numbers. And in that case, we'll have to do 26 to the power 0, 26 to the power 1. Now that's it. That's how you do it basically. So 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12 13 14 15 16 17 25 26. Yeah, just making sure I'm not stupid. I don't know why I did that, but basically what we have to write is for I in some power of 26, right? We need it to keep going till a particular power of 26. Now how do we know how long do we need to keep checking our number? So whatever our number is, so let's say the number was 11 in this case, so how did we know we only have to go till 2 powers? So I think the simplest way of checking that would be whatever our number system is, let's say 10 in this case, if we just divide this by 10, whatever we get is the number of times we iterate. So let's say we were at 111 and we divide by 10, so we will reach 10, right? No, that's bad. Then we somehow need to incorporate the power. So whenever our power has gone greater than this, those are the number of iterations we need to do. So in this case, we need to do 3 iterations, one with 0, one with 1, one with 2, because it's 10 to the power 3 when we actually get greater than this number. Till 10 to the power 2, we are smaller than this number. So yeah, so we just have to check till what power are we smaller than the number. So for I in and I'm going to initiate I at 0, while I into the power I is less than column number. We just want to do those many iterations. So and then finally we will be returned with that particular value, and greater than should equal to should also work fine, because in case of 100 we still no we still have to iterate 3 times, so it should be less than, strictly less than. Okay, by the way, this is not too important if anyone is wondering. Like, this is just me trying to be silly with Google Sheets and try to make everything work for the longer term, which is not necessary. But yeah, we have this, we know how many times we need to iterate, so we know the len of our the final and in this case a is going to represent our 0, and yeah, that is already clear from alphabet. So just what we need to do is I in range I, not I, let's call it something else, let's call it like max iter, and then for I in range max iter, we're just gonna update our column name. So when we'll be starting, our I will be 0, so we'll be getting the value for the 0th index. So in that case, we just need to do alphabets divide equal call name dot append, and just to make sure what we are appending here actually, so when we are doing 11 and we are dividing it by 1, 10 to the power 0 is going to be 1. What do we get? We get 11, and our remainder is what? 0. So this is not helping. So we need to actually start with 10. We need to start by dividing by 10, and we see what our remainder is in that case, which is going to be 1. So how do we know the value of the first index? The remainder is the first index, right? So the remainder is the 0th index, and the quotient is the other part. So, and after that it's just going to be quotient. So for the first iteration, the remainder is going to be our index, like the first index, and the quotient is going to be our 10th position, and after that it's going to be like that. So basically we want to start iterating from max iter only, like this, and in that way we'll always have enough information in that sense. And yeah, so basically you're gonna append your alphabets, which index, which is your 26, so basically your whole number percentage 26 into r. So in that way you're always gonna get the quotient starting from 1, and actually this is gonna just give you the remainder, which is not what we want. We want to get the quotient, so we're gonna go divide, and before even doing all of this, we are just gonna append know, 26. So this is going to give you the first index, and these are going to give you all the rest of the indices. And then finally want to return whole number, whole name dot reverse dot join. This is argument of type term currently assigned to an iteratable. Why is this none? Oh, that's in Golang or Rust. I think Rust has the reverse function, right? There we have to use. Here we have to use this. So this function should work. Let's just check this out really quickly. So let's copy it into a notebook. And here what we want to test is let's say I don't know why it took so long to do. This was not a direction we were supposed to go. Name from index, and we're just going to pass in 26, let's say. So we are 0 index, so we should have AB actually. So this is not right. So reversing is not working for us, is it? Or should we have not reversed things? Because when we are appending, oh, the value is already pushing up. Yeah. We don't need to reverse. The value is already pushing back. I was thinking it's gonna be it. Yeah, my bad. So it's AB. 26 is AB. 25 must be AA. ZA. Okay, this is bad then. 0 is A. Your 24 is Y. Oh wow. What is going on? There's something extremely wrong with the code right now. We got its coefficient by doing this, and we are claiming it's. Why do we need the coefficient? That is still in that part. Like, instead of doing this, What if I've done it like just appending the remainder each time? I think that should make more sense. Just do that. On 1, 2, max it up. 24 is Y, 25 should be Z, and then your 26 should be AA. 26 is just A, which is not right. Why would that be the case? Because we have somehow hard coded 10 in here. Okay, so we know the error. And now 26 is nothing. Great. While 26 into max iter is less than column number, we are gonna increase the max iter by 1. Now when we put 26 in it, our column number is 26. 26 into max iter is gonna be 1. So it's gonna increase by 1, but somehow it remains the same because there should be a +1 here as well. No, that's not it. Max iter should start at 1 and then all this should be taken care of. Going on. Max iter is still 1. Where else we would have expected it to be higher. And we would have expected it to be higher on the basis of so initially this should have been 0. Oh, so whenever call number is greater than okay, this should be less than equal to not is was that first. So print max iter. Max iter is 2, which is what it should be. So when we are doing it 2 times, I would ideally expect this to run 2 times, and this should return me my values. Now, oh wait, I'm being stupid right now. Oh, okay, I just got it. I'm being so stupid. We have to do this not like this. We have to always percentage by 26 only. But what we need to change is we need to divide call number by 26 each time. So that's how the coefficient comes into the play. The quotient, sorry. Yeah, now you're getting 26 in this case. 25 you're getting Z. There is something wrong still that we can figure out. What is going on now? So our iterations are getting captured correctly, but we are missing one index here. There is no AA, which could happen because we have 26. 26 quotient 26 should be 0. 26 divided by 26 is actually 1. So that's why 1 is coming out as integer in this case, which is not good. Instead of storing the coefficient, oh damn, how do we need to store this value then? What do we actually need to divide by? I'm at a complete loss here. What's going on? So you have these values. Whenever you run out of it, you want to use new values. And to do that, you will first fill in your max iter, which is going to be based on your column numbers. And that we are getting out correctly now. And now we are losing this information because the call number is getting updated incorrectly. It's a edge case issue. Like if I keep it 27 as well, right? It should be AB again. I think that's what's happening. Oh no, it goes to BB. That is completely incorrect. Push A, you will push B. So first step, you will always push the first remainder, is it? When you are with 100, when you are dividing by 10, you will always have the index for the first place. So if you're dividing by 101, your remainder is actually your first index. When you're doing with 10. Then when you're doing it with 100, your don't divide equal to it. 100 is again going to give you 1, which is going to cause issues. So instead, you divide by that. You say you divide by 10, that's going to give you 10.1. And then you use that 10 for that particular index, which will give you 10 again. And then you use the final. Okay. I don't know why I'm being so confused right now. I'm just not able to think, I guess. Okay. Sometimes I feel so stupid about these things. And here I am being stuck on something so stupid for so long. And yeah, that's the only problem of live streams. You are stuck on things. There's a lot of time where you are just lost. And I don't know why I'm lost here. Like this is too simple of a problem to be solved. This will still work for our particular use case. If from A to Z this will work, but why is it not working after that is completely out of question for me right now. It's giving CB. Now it all makes sense because this is what's handling everything. Now when you're doing 28 goes inside of this, it just checks the max iters that is getting calculated correctly. Now when you divide 28, you get 2. So that should actually be your first index. Okay, I see now. So we have to still reverse. Reversal still makes sense. Okay. So now this is getting populated correctly at least. The only issue is that this index is not getting populated correctly, and the reason for that will come from the fact that when you're exactly dividing, right, you need to subtract by 1, but no, that makes no sense again. When you are exactly dividing and you are left by just something that is smaller than your particular value, what should you do in that case? You are left with something that is smaller than your value. So let's just take an example. Let's just say 1, 2, 3, 4. So you start with 10. Let's just do dry running for quickly solving this. So you take the modulo with 10. You're left with 4 as your remainder. You fill it in. Okay. 4 is your first value inside of all of this. Then you divided by 10. So you're left with 1 to 3. Now you again take the ratio with 10. So you're left with 3. You fill in 3. And then you divide by 10 and you're left with 12. Then at 12, you fill in 2, which makes sense. And here you will again divide by 10, which is left you with only 1. Now in our case, this is causing an issue because the index should actually have been 0, and if the remainder was 0, which is like 1 2 3 0, in that case the first remainder is 0, then 3, then 2, then 1. So first is gonna be A, second is gonna be B, or more like D, and then C, and then B. But actually this should actually have been A because of like all of that. So I think one simpler way of solving this is just having another index A in here. Okay, and then we just always subtract by 1. So it is cyclic in some sense. So what we are doing is we are just putting in another A here. Where did it go? Okay, where is my testing now? Vanished. And yeah, so I'm just saying it's cyclic in that sense. So you put another A in here, and in that way, whenever you're stuck, you'll just use the -1 value. You'll always come back to it. No, it doesn't make too much sense, does it? The only problem is when you're exactly dividing by 26, I think. Till 25, it's okay. 26, it becomes BA, where it should be A. So basically, if the value is less than your remainder, nope, still doesn't make sense. Still doesn't make sense. When you're filling in the initial value, it should have been corrected itself. Yeah. So I in range 1, etc. plus 1. We send in the value 26. 26 modulo 26 was 0. So we filled in A inside of our list. Then we divided it by 26. It gave us 1. And then that 1 modulo is causing the whole issue. But the thing is, like, if whole number is less than 26, right, at that point you should always append 0. No, this is bad. I'm going way out of everything now. So let's just accept our defeat here, guys. We don't want to waste too much time on these things. We have something known as ChatGPT. Couldn't think at yep, really couldn't think today. Or we can just use Perplexity. Why not? It also works. In some sense, Perplexity offers less resistance to use because it's easier, and then you don't have to log in and all of that stuff. So I just like Perplexity more in that way. So just use Sonar Pro. We don't need too much reasoning. Fix this. And the LLM will do it for us. Yeah, the wraparound is the issue, right? Due to the one-way offsets must be handled in the conversion. Exactly. So the loop over max iter and loopers can be simplified and made more robust. And how do we do that? Convert 0-bit index to Google Sheet column name. We just convert it from 0-bit index to something different. So you are getting the div mod, and then your column name order plus remainder plus call name. And just for non-zero digits in the naming schema. Oh, okay. So you're just, instead of doing this, if I just do n-1 each time in here, instead of changing too much, you're telling me this will work. Okay, this works till 26, but what about 52? 52 is BA, which is correct actually. Okay, so we just needed to subtract 1 to handle the off 1 error because we are doing 0-based indexing. That was all. Yeah, I'm just gonna keep the other part of the code same because we had already fixed it. Yeah, I just got screwed by a little bit. That's fine. Cool. Now we have our code. Now we can convert any kind of a target column number to name, which is work, which is good. And from the helper, I'm just gonna call that function, get column name from index. Here, I'm just gonna call it. So get Inside of this, I'm just gonna fix my target column, and in here I'm just gonna do it dot upper as well, and here I'll have to specify that I'm actually returning a string. So we can close the testing part now and just have this return a string. Man, I didn't need to brush up my DSS skills though. My one error was getting me for so long. That can be annoying. And here we're just going to use whole name instead. Not just sheet one, we also need to fill in the sheet. So this should come from sheet config dot data. So yeah, this should be our query to get the target column. And from here we are just gonna say sheet dot get values, get the range, and we are gonna just check the, so we get all the target values for that particular columns, and then we match that particular value with our target value. Yeah, and matching rows, we keep appending them with one based indexing, and then we finally query based on that one based indexing from the Google Sheets ranges. Sheet yeah, and then you finally have your matching rows dot extend this, and here you're just gonna return those matching rows for now. At least let's just return this just to see what it looks like, and then we'll worry about how do we handle the matching rows data. Why is it giving me error now? And let's just test this function out. So have I set it to this? Yeah, this is gonna be just a list for now, list of strings. Yeah, and let's just test this function again in the testing.py. And we'll have to import some functions for this one to actually test out, and to do that we'll also have to system.append some paths. So instead of doing all of that annoying part, I'm just gonna put everything right here. So let's just copy all of this and push it right here. That should be simpler. Now do we have everything we need? Only the sheet config we don't have. Let's not get it from anywhere. We are just gonna go inside the config and copy the sheet config as well. And now, after doing all of this boring things, I should actually be able to get some values from my Google Sheet. Why are we still calling this? That makes no sense. Hey, something changed, right? We don't need these two things anymore. Also, I'm not sure about having use a set. I don't think we are even using a set anyway. Yeah, from random get state also not. Bro, what the hell happened here? We have the add row and these functions, but we never have functions we just copied from the helper. What the hell is going on? This is what I was trying to do. Don't understand what changed. This is exactly what I was trying to do in the first place while copying everything. But sometimes these sheets, you have to set it up to MCP server, and then you have this. Then you have all of these things that you don't need to worry about. So just boring functions. Salary cache is not defined. Why is it not defined? Now it's defined for some weird reason. Sure, dude, sure. That's how we're gonna play it, sure. And now, inside of this, we're just gonna call get rows function. And we are gonna check if this works or not. Let's say we're gonna check for our first index 5110958. This is our target value. Then you have to put in your target column, which is going to be 1 in this case. And then we need the data type, which is going to be invoice. We are getting empty value. That's interesting. Could be just because of a string or this kind of comparison issue. Oh wow. Unable to parse range. Huh? How did that happen? Inside of this, my target value can be anything, right? So it could be have been a string, but my target column, which is a bigger question here, somehow messed up. Let's just have all of the target column values printed for once. Invoice number and this thing. We have to compare everything down to a string. So we don't care what our input value is. We'll have to compare it as a string. Let's just have everything input as a string. Now I'm getting 500 for some reason because my sheet range is incorrect. Where is the sheet range in here? Oh, why am I calling it sheet 1? That makes no sense. Oh, that's what was getting wrong. So sheet. Okay, so everything is working. Now we're getting all the values. Great. So now that we are getting all of our values back, what we need to do is we need to also update them with their column values. So whatever is the first value we ever get, so whatever is our first row, we all only get that first row always, and we map it down to these values before giving it to the LLM as a string. In the either we can give it back to the LLM in a markdown format, or we can stringify it ourselves in a cleaner way. I think markdown makes more sense to me. So, or we can just convert it all into JSON. That also makes a lot of sense to me. That is actually one of the best ways you can give the data to LLM. So yeah, one more thing we need to add in here is to get the headers. So we have to add another request. So we are getting these values, which is nice for ranges. But before that, we also have to do a get header thing, which is header is going to be this thing. And inside of the ranges, we are going to have where is the this f string. and the row number and column number is just gonna be 1. So in that way, we'll always get the header. So if I just print, or not even just print, let's just do it right here. So whenever we have got our matching rows, the way we are going to return this is as a JSON string. And to do that, what we are going to do is we are just going to have another JSON kind of format, and this is going to be a list inside of a JSON. Okay, and or we can just keep it a complete JSON where our values are going to be like this. So our key is going to be our invoice number, but we don't know which column is invoice number, right? So that will make it a bit tricky. Or we do know because of this headers that we have now, if we keep the header name same. Okay, what do we want to do? Let's just keep it a list inside of a tick for now. Yeah, a list inside of a JSON is fine, right? A list works inside of a JSON. We're gonna have a list. Inside of this list, we are gonna have ranges are like this, result is this, and for value in range, result.get value range, matching the values dot extend value range dot get values, and this is a list, we know of it. So to get this list out of there, we need to basically place all of our headers inside this list. So we are not just gonna extend it like this. Why is it getting extended like this? Let's just print it for once. Value range dot get values, matching rows dot extend this thing. So this is just appending to a row. Why did the call extend then? Why not append? Oh, because it somehow returns a list. Oh, okay, that makes sense. This is fine then. So what we need to do is we just have to get our values. It's gonna be value range dot get values, and let's put it inside of the if. Why not? And we are gonna get the 0th index of this. So basically it is a list of lists, and we are gonna get the 0th index from that list. And for that, for our data, or we can call it a row or a sample. Sample is a dict for I in for key comma value in zip header comma values. Right. We're gonna just do sample key value, and then we're gonna go this thing. This is gonna be an append now with sample. So cool. Now we'll have a list LJSON, this list of dicts, and we're just not gonna return it. We are also gonna import JSON, and here, now that we have imported JSON, we can just do JSON dot terms matching those, so that way we satisfy the condition that we are returning a string, not a list anymore, just a string. Now if I run this, spreadsheet ID this, value range is this. This is bad, right? Now we are again not getting the input we wanted. Now why would this happen? Okay, key comma value and header comma values. What is our header? Header was correct. Oh, okay. We have to go inside of values inside of header. So when we executed it, value ranges is different. Our values 0 is where everything is. So inside of this, we're gonna go inside values 0, and this is what your header actually is. So, or we can just use the way they were using it. So get value 0, and here also. But why did it work out here then? Is what I don't understand. It should have just given me a bug because of this, because the length was not matching. Because here I'm using values, right? I can just print values as well. Runtime object is not subscriptable. Wow. In bugs. Yeah, okay. So what is the issue? There is no issue. Now we are getting everything is fine. So somehow it didn't give me a bug from zip, where zip generally gives a bug when the length of them is not same. So I don't know, maybe in Python 3.13 they changed the way that logic works. But cool, now we have a list of JSON as our output, and it is going to have all of the information that we will ever need. So we can happily send this information to our LLM, and this will work for, so this is right now working for your item data, which is your, sorry, invoice metadata. You have to write something similar for the invoice data, and that's it. Or we have already returned it because we have get rows for both of the data types, and we are using everything very modularly, so it will, the same function will work for both. So cool. So now we can just copy this function out. Yep, here we go. And we're gonna paste it inside of our sheet interface. We are already inside of the sheet interface. Oh, we did everything inside of sheet interface. I thought we were doing everything inside testing. Wow. Okay, so it's time to remove all of this from here. We don't need any of this. Wow. Must have navigated to the wrong tab. Cool. So we don't even need to copy paste anymore. Everything is just working here. And we're gonna just have some import statements which are now removed. We can just copy it back from our GitHub actually. Cool. This should be it. So we have just added another function here. Gonna take care of these things. Cool. So we have a get rows function now that will get all the rows from the invoice data and the item data column, and we are gonna convert it into a JSON, a list of JSON, and send it back to our LLM so that way it can process it. So cool. So now we have tested this function and everything is working nice. So we are ready to go back to our server and work on our endpoint, which is get invoice data. And here we're going to just take the invoice number as input. Again, gonna keep the name same as the other one. So in, and inside of the doc string, we're just gonna say invoice number. And this is also going to return a string. Inside of this, we're going to have get rows, where we will get the rows on the basis of, and we have not imported get rows yet. I'm just keeping it to be one from our side now, so it's kind of encoded in the models, and it can only get invoice on the basis of invoice ID. And finally, we also need the data type from here, so it's gonna be invoice, and then you're gonna have another function here, your item data. Here you're gonna get data again from invoice number. Target column is gonna be 0 in this case, because it's in A column as far as I am concerned. And you're gonna also have data type as item. Cool, now you have the item data and the invoice data. Again, I'm just gonna import JSON in here. You could have just let it to be list of string. Let's just not do the processing here as well. So let's just have it actually be list of whatever, list of dicks actually. So yeah, if I go here, it's actually gonna return a list dict, which is gonna have string as a key. Always, we are sure about that, and string is the value as well, because it is returning everything down to us as strings. That's what Google Sheets is doing right now, so I'm just gonna write that. And yeah, that's gonna be your matching rows, and we don't need to use JSON here. Instead, here itself, when we are doing all of this processing, we can finally return our data can be equal to and then you can finally return json.dumps data. So here is where you are handling all of the string processing, and later if you want to change it, you can change this right here, because you are getting all of the data from the module, so you will have to change the module less number of times, and that's how it should be. You should be able to abstract away your functions in a way so that you have to change them as less as possible, and then you only worry about the presentation of things, and that should be done during your endpoint itself. That makes more sense to process your data presentation in the endpoint. So now that we have this endpoint ready, we have all of the endpoints that we discussed. I'm just gonna go to my readme again, and just take this one out. And now we just need to test if everything is working or not inside of our cloud desktop. And when that is ready, we're going to connect our Gemini API with our MCP server, and then we are actually be able to start querying the LLM and getting responses from it. But we are going to still stick with cloud desktop for the longest time, until and unless we have a front end ready, either using Streamlit and or using React. Also, I was a bit confused about that. Either we should continue with Streamlit for this application, or should we go ahead with React. If you are watching this video in the future, and if I actually edit these both videos and clean them out and upload them as YouTube videos instead of these long ass live streams where I'm lost half of the time, I think there you can recommend me better whether I should use Streamlit application or should I use a React application to actually make a front end for this one. And if you are here right now, you can recommend it to me right now, right there. It's gonna be a quick feedback loop like this. I'm telling you things, you are telling me things, we are having a communication. That's what we do live streams for. So yeah, okay, so this part is done. So if I go back to my cloud desktop now, and let's just delete this part is done now. We are using the code recommended by Claude anyway, and let's just delete this as well. This was yesterday when we were experimenting with the invoice upload, And we're going to also remove this row from the invoice sheet because this was just our earlier testing. And now let's see if the invoice data is getting uploaded or not, and are we able to retrieve it back if we are asking particular queries about it. So let's upload a file, and we're going to upload this one again. This is the same invoice we played with yesterday, and we're going to say, hey, this is an invoice for my latest purchase. Can you just store it for me? Now we will not have to tell this storing thing to our LLM when we finally create the application, because we'll be using the system instructions in there. I also discussed this yesterday, but here we need to provide this kind of an information that you have to store this information, because there is no way of setting up system instructions on the basis of particular model behavior inside of Cloud Desktop. That will only be able to do with the Gemini API when we are building our own MCP client. Let's just run this and see if it is able to store all the information or not, where it has to call the endpoint multiple times for each of the item rows as well. Okay, it is able to get all the invoice metadata from it. That should be populated by now. Yep. Now we move save item was data to sheet. Request is empty and the response is empty. Oh, because we never restarted it. Ah, shit. So it never got to work with our new MCP because we never restarted the Cloud Desktop application. So it is still working with the older MCP. So I'm just gonna delete this row again. I'm gonna close Cloud. Then I'm gonna reopen it. Now it should have restarted the MCP server, and that way it should have all the new endpoints. Now there is no new endpoints because we had already created the wrapper, like the skeleton for it. But now let's try this. So we upload this. Okay, so now it should be able to make multiple item price calls. Overall invoice metadata. Cool, it is doing that. Now I'll save each item's details individually. Okay, so it understands that. I'm gonna allow this endpoint because this endpoint is getting called for the first time. So you'll have to allow it. So it's gonna call it for every other item now. I don't remember how many items we had in this one. So let's just open this again and see. So we have around 7 items. So 1, 2, 3. It has called it for 3. Is everything getting stored successfully? We are gonna get the response. Error executing tool 500. Unable to parse range for item data. Wow, something is messing up. So nothing is getting uploaded, is it? Okay, okay, okay. Okay, so we'll have to stop this execution actually. Why are we not able to parse this? What are our input values? So this we will be able to parse successfully. Now what failed here? The input looks fine. Error executing tool, HTTPS, unable to parse range item data. It was not able to find item. Oh, whoa, whoa, whoa. Okay. We had something wrong in our config way back, but we never tested it. So it should be items data. There was no sheet as item data. Debug, debug. Let's just copy this, delete this conversation, and we'll have to restart the MCP server again. So for that, we'll have to restart Cloud Desktop. And now everything should be fine. So a small typo way back when we were writing our config. Now if I run this, it should be able to store all the information for this particular invoice after reading it as it is a VLLM, and then store it back to sheets. So I just think I forgot to delete the first row from here, so I can just do that right now. And now we should be populating our items data one by one. So there are 7 different items in this particular invoice. It will make the call to save item wise data to sheets 7 times. And we have written it like this for the first iteration of the function of our code. And you see like all of the data is getting uploaded nicely. Gaming PC, desktop computer, and all of their invoice data is getting uploaded nicely in our sheets. So we have this part working for us. The upload part is working successfully. Now we have to check the retrieval part once, and if the retrieval part is also working, then we are just left with connecting it to Gemini, and then we'll just play around with our own APIs and system instructions. That will be interesting. But yeah, one more thing that we have to do here is that we are making 7 different calls each time. So 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. This would be the last call for this particular invoice. Yep, it is stored everything. So there should be 7 rows that are created successfully. Cool. So all the rows are created successfully from the invoice, and we were able to parse them using an LLM. But now we have to check if the retrieval is also working or not. So to do that, let's add another chat inside of this, and let's say can you tell me what all items I sold in my invoice number this, and what was the total sale summary in tabular format. So now this particular chat doesn't have a history of the invoice that we had just uploaded, this particular image. So it will have to call the retrieval function to get all of that data, and then we'll have to present it to me in a tabular format using the data that it just receives. And for that, it will use our this endpoint, which we just created, which is get invoice data from sheet invoice. And for that, we have created a function which is get rows that works on invoice number for now. So let's see if this is working or not. We have to allow this because this again, this endpoint is getting called for the first time. It hadn't been called yet. And nice, we were able to get all of the data. And let's see if it is able to present it nicely. I'm just going to open the image right beside it so that we can compare. Okay, let's just have it in the split view if only I can. Nice. So you have these items, the quantities and everything seems to be perfectly in check. And then you finally have the sales summary where you have the date, you have the final values. So cool. Everything seems to be working. So we have the retriever working, we have the saver working. So both of these functions are ready. One thing I want to do with the save function is, as I have been said multiple times, instead of using this particular function where they will have to call, the LLM will have to call all the time, like it has to call multiple different number of times for each of the item inside of our invoice to basically get this information. We can just make it as a list of string kind of a input where we'll take invoice number as an input, and these all will be lists, and here we'll be giving it in a particular format and formatting it ourselves so that the list is uploaded correctly. So let's just copy this function, the same function, the very same function, and let's copy it down, and let's make all of this a list of string. And here, and for me it is just an alternative to this. I'm never gonna have both of these working at the same time, as it will be confusing for the LLM, I suppose. So I'm just gonna use one at a time. List of string here, list of sort, I'm also not sure if my endpoint can actually take bulk uploads right now. I'll have to check that as well. So the add row function I'm using here, is it capable of taking, oh, these things is the question. Yeah, we should be able to fool it with this. You're not? Oh, okay, nice. Nice type checking. Great. So let's go back to our sheet interface. Let's copy our add row function and put it in the testing this time without any issues. Yeah, this will run, and this will also have the get rows is here, but there is no. Okay, this is fine. Let's remove the get rows from here, and let's instead have the add row function, and let's see if we can make it work with uh, multiple rows. So let's say I called it with add row. My data was 1 2 3 4 4 1 2 4, and then we're gonna delete it anyway, so fine. So let's see if this works or not. Sheet config is not defined. Okay, this is a separate error. We just have to define sheet config, which is available inside of config, and we're just gonna copy this, go back to our testing, copy it back here. Updated 2 rows. Oh, nice. So it can work with multiple rows, is it? Okay, great. Then we don't have to change anything from the add row function. So I'm just gonna call it add rows instead of add row, because that goes to show its capability is better. And we'll have to change it in server as well. So it is actually add rows, and also in the import. Nice. So now that we have it, instead of doing it like this, what we have to do is we'll have to get the data ready to our upload data. And for that, I'll go. So I want to make sure that the LLM has given everything correctly, and it can be case that sometimes the LLM has not given the things correctly, which is very possible. Like it's an LLM at the end of the day, not gonna be very deterministic all the time. So I just want to write a way so that the code doesn't, or I just want to give a better error message if the length of all of these functions are not same. So descriptions. We're gonna have it like this in respective order, and we are just gonna copy this in most of the other ones. Good. Most of this is gonna get repeated, but we will have to repeat until this we figure out a better way to actually optimize this prompt. I'm just using this redundant prompt because I know it works for now, and we can worry about the optimizations later. And yeah, same for this one. So now we'll have all the things in their respective order. Invoice is still gonna be a single int. And now what we want to do is we will like to curate our data set, but before doing it, we need to validate the length. And to do that, what we're going to do is we just want to compare like assert len item description equal to item quantity, unit of measure is equal to then net price worth. And if this is not true, we're just going to return like the length for all data provided, correct, is item data for each is in, uh, order. The length for the data provided is incorrect. Please validate that the item data for item wise data for each row wise data for each item is presented correctly in the lists in and in their correct order. And why do we need to do this thing? So the length correction, the length of all the data provided is incorrect. That doesn't make sense. That is not a very helpful error message. We are going to say the length for the different data points, right? Um, different attributes in a voice. Issue length for all attributes is returns the number of items in an invoice are all equal. Yeah, this error message makes more sense to me. And then we have to create the upload data, which is what our data is going to look like. So for that, I'm just going to iterate through anything we can pick because we have already asserted their all of their lengths are equal. And for each one of them, I'm just gonna append to my upload data this same thing. And we can just actually let go of this. We don't need to append list of list. It will automatically create a list of list. And here, invoice number and everything is correct, but this is gonna be upload data first of all. And second of all, the invoice number, right? So invoice number is gonna stay like this, but these things are gonna be there. There was actually a faster way of doing this. I just ended up doing it manually. Yeah, okay. So this way, now we should be able to do bulk upload. So this is what the bulk upload endpoint should look like. So this way we'll be able to save some calls to and fro from the endpoint, and we'll be able to upload all of the item data in a single call. And that should also help us with the API requests we are making to our Google Sheets API. And let's remove all of these rows again. Save this, remove this again, and then we're going to try uploading that in same invoice again to see if everything gets uploaded correctly this time as well, now that we have changed the upload to bulk upload. I'm going to copy this again, done it multiple times by now, and going to delete this. Now we're going to go to a new chat, copy this, upload a file. It's going to be our batch one, and then we're just going to run this. Oh, wait, we have to cancel this. Stop. This would not have updated the endpoint yet. We'll have to first, okay, first of all, let's just delete this conversation while we're at it. And then let's close the clone desktop app and then reopen it just so that we have the latest MCP server this time. Yeah. And everything else should remain the same. I think the code should be perfectly fine. Okay, let's just run this. And if this works, great. We'll be saving around a lot of calls. As the item keeps increasing, the system would have been less scalable because of this into item calls. But now we'll be able to do everything in a single call, which is nice. So great. Oh wow, somehow it didn't connect to our MCP either. Or oh wow, it just didn't connect to our MCP. That's interesting. I'm gonna close this again and see if some error popped up at the start of MCP. Why did it not connect? That's confusing to me. MCP invoice, open MCP settings. What happened? Okay, I'm able to see an error here. Open logs folder. We'll have to look at the logs. So here you can see the log for that particular service. So I'm gonna open this with Z so that all of us can view this. So I think we must have made some kind of a bug that it caused everything to shut down. Okay. So what was the issue? Shutting down server. Message from server. No, no. So what is the issue? Save invoice metadata, client information, the client address and name of function provided in the invoice uploaded as thing. No, still we don't understand what the error is. So I'm just gonna clear everything up. Save this logs like empty, and then I'm gonna close this and reopen it just to check what the actual error is. Because it's difficult to find that in all of those large number of logs. I'm still not able to see anything. Let's just try to run our server once ourselves. What is happening? Why am I not able to get my terminal? Oh, I have my terminal. It opened too many. It's showing me an error somewhere in the server.py file. What is the error? What happened to you? I don't think we need this. I don't know why it is here anyway. But what is the error? Yes, please tell me. Not seeing. Oh, here it is. Ah, okay. Wow, dude. Silly as hell. Now everything should work. I'm gonna close Cloud again. Reopen it. And now we are getting connected to our server, which is nice. Now it should be able to upload everything. Let's hope everything works in a single call. If it doesn't, we have the multiple call way of doing it anyway. Yeah, it is saving the invoice metadata to sheets. The only part that is interesting to us is that it is able to create that list of data properly for the item-wise data or not. Okay, this seems to be good till now. Populating the sheet like this, then the item quantities, units of measure, net price, net worth. Let's just quickly check this just to have a sanity check on if everything is uploaded correctly or not. I'll just go back to my preview. Then again, I'm gonna open them in split view. Oh wow, it just vanished. Interestingly. Here it is. Went to my second screen. Can you just allow me to click on it? Yeah, so let's just have a quick check if everything is uploaded correct or not. Why do we have the item description twice? Oh, somehow it was filling in the item description first, right? Now it went to last for some weird reason. Updated 7 rows A2 to H8. So this message is correct. We did end up uploading 7 rows, which is good. And yeah, the value seems to be correct actually. Cool. So we will be able to work in single calls. That is nice. So now all the invoice data and the item-wise data is getting uploaded nicely into our Google Sheets, which we can see right here. And we are also able to query it based on the invoice number. So if I ask, can you summarize the, if you can just see this, let me ask this for guys who have just joined again. So let's say I delete this and I ask it, can you summarize this, my sales for invoice number, just this. That's it. That's all I'm gonna ask. Let's see. First, it will retrieve all the data from Google Sheets. Oh, what a stutter. And then it's gonna tell me whatever is going on. So it told me whatever was sold, what value it was sold for. We can check that values are correct or not. And it will also tell me like if I want to know more information. So it is getting data from both the invoice table and the item table. If you see the format, it's something like invoice metadata, and then you have your item wise data. So there is your invoice data, and if I can just show you where the item data is in this mess. Or something. The client information and everything is still here. Yep, so all of this is your invoice metadata, and after this is your item data, which is your item wise information, which is this particular table in the invoice. So cool. So we have completed all of our basic server related tasks that we had discussed at the start of our problem statement. And if you just go back to our readme, we are able to upload invoice data to sheets, we are able to upload item data to sheet, and we are able to retrieve based on invoice number from the sheets. Now we have to work on connecting the Gemini API with our MCP servers. So let's get to it. So yeah, done all of this. Let's go back to our sheet interface. Not the sheet interface actually. Let's go back to our client, which we haven't looked at till now. In fact, we haven't even created any file here. So let's create a new file here, which we'll call our source, not file actually. Let's create a new folder here. Let's call it source. And inside of that, let's have new folder modules. And we are also again going to have the same kind of setup where you're going to have utils. Inside of the modules, you're going to have a new folder or a new file, which is actually your client.py. So let's just not call it client.py for now. Let's just call it Gemini caller.py. And here, what we want to do is, let me just first close all of this. Server we are okay with. I'm just going to push this first of all, and not being inside of the MCP server. And that mistake I've already done enough. Edit support for item wise data upload and item plus voice metadata retrieval based on user query. Cool. All of this is working. Let's get to the client side and solve one more task from here, and then we'll be good for the day. We'll have a basic MCP server working, then we'll have to start working on an interface for it, and also add some more interesting applications from it. So answer user query based on the data provided. I think this will both come under setting up the Gemini API as well. I don't know why I created it in the first place. Let me just remove this. This is the only task we need to do from the client side, and then we just have to work on an interface to handle everything. So yeah, going inside the Gemini caller, just instead of inside of Gemini caller, let's just have something inside of our config. So in this config, what do I have? Nothing of much importance. Let's go to our notebooks and our invoice parser. Let's copy everything up from here, and let's go to our utils. Inside of this, I'm gonna have a helper.py, and this structure you must be familiar with by now. And I'm gonna have all of this, and except this, we don't need this, and also we don't need, or we do need this. So yeah, and inside here, I'm just gonna set up a function which is get Gemini client, and the very same way I'm gonna import LRU cache from tools, and here I'm just gonna have my API key and my client, and that's it. That's all I'm gonna do inside here. And this is gonna be and that's it. So that is how I set up my get Gemini client. If you want to add some more information here, we can do it right here, but I'm just going to remove everything else from here for now. I'm just going to control Z. I think I'll need it later. I'm going to back in my Gemini caller. I'm just going to copy this and also dump this out there, because both of these things will be needed during the caller and not here. So yep. And here we need to have a binary file, which is our image bytes basically. So we're going to send in the image bytes to this function, and also we're going to send it if there are any. So image byte needs to be optional, and we are going to have our input basically. And we are also needing to have a system instruction that I'm going to store inside of another function, another file which I'm going to call prompts. So inside of this, let's have another file which is our prompts.py, and inside of here I have my system prompts. And here I'm just going to have like uh, upload to related tool. Not you upload the voice uh, and the item wise data. It's using the provided. Answer users queries based on the data related to that invoice that you have. Use data from sheets. Just to make it more strict in terms of its behavior. I think this much user system instruction is enough for now. We don't need to play too much around. We can see how the LLM is performing with these instructions, and if it doesn't perform too well, we can go into like COT and stuff like that, all of that fancy stuff. If we see that this is not helping the LLM to perform any better than how we want it to perform. So this is enough for now. Let's go back to our Gemini caller, and we have our ask query where we are going to receive image bytes. What is the file type of this? I am not even sure. What is the file type for bytes? Bytes. Okay, that's easier than I expected. Yeah. So here I'm just gonna have function which is that query, which is gonna take image bytes, and query. This is gonna be string, and that's it. So image bytes. Actually, let's put it like this, and here this is gonna be none, and then we're gonna make it optional. Is there a better way to represent optional? Do I have to import optional from typing? Okay, fine for now. Yeah, in here, I'm just gonna, I have my image bytes already, so I don't need all of this. I'm just gonna have a response generated from the client. And where do I get the client from? Well, we are already aware of it. From helper, import, no, not helper like this, source.utils.helper, import with Gemini client, and your client is gonna be, that's it. And this is how you get your response. And why is image bytes like this? Well, because it's not apparent if you will always have the image bytes or not. So let's build it somewhere else. Let's cut this, and in here actually have a list of bytes as well. Optional lists of bytes, images, that way. And we're gonna have it as an empty. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna have something that we call our prompt. Let's call it message. And we're gonna append this. And then finally, when all of this is done, you can finally append and we can remove this. And in the contents, we are just going to be using messages instead. And why is this not working? None can be used as an iterable value because it's optional list of string, is it? It's fine. We don't need it as an optional list. We can just have it as a string now. And now that we have all of this ready, we will be getting our response. And this is what we actually want to display to the user. So good in that. But now we also want to integrate our tools. So how do we integrate our tools is the question. So the way to do it inside of Gemini is that if you look into the generate config, generate content config, you will find the option to first of all add system instructions in here. So as we have seen it, let's just add it first. We have not uploaded source.utils.config.prompts, import system prompts. From here we are going to have some prompts dot parser. What was it? I forgot. Invoice parser. Why is it not showing me anything? Why is it being annoying? Prompts invoice manager. Wow, why were you not showing me this? It would have made my job so much simpler. Dot invoice. It is still not showing anything. What is wrong? Oh, okay, that's why it's not able to read properly. No, still not closed properly. Okay, because this is closed here, and then you have something that should close there. What is not closed? Then the issue is arising from somewhere else. Ah, because it's comma. That makes total. Now will it show me? Yeah. So it was just not working because I had a syntax error. Cool. So yeah, I have the candidate count. I have the system instruction. What else do I have? I have the temperature. Temperature, I don't want to play around right now. HTTP options used to override HTTP request options. I don't know. I don't think I have to play around with that. Top P, top K. Standard is to use 0.95 for top P, and top K you can use whatever, like 25 or something, I guess. Candidate count is one, good enough for now. Max output tokens, we don't need to worry about that. Top sequence, again, don't need to worry about that. Response log probes, not necessary. Log probes necessary. Presence penalty, frequency penalty, fine. Seed, we don't need to worry about. Response mime type, supported mime times. Oh, okay, that is actually really nice if they are already supporting this kind of feature. We are only going to be using explain for now, I guess, in most of our cases. So shouldn't be of any matter to us. But yeah, you can specify response schema and stuff like that. That is actually really neat, because to that with OpenAI, you had to use LangChain and stuff like that. That used to wrap that kind of functionality on top of OpenAI's responses. So this is actually way better than that. Uh, Model selection configuration for model selection. Why do I need a configuration for model selection when I'm specifying the model myself? Safety settings. And you have the tools here and the tool config, associated model output to a specific function call, labels, cache content. Okay, yeah, got it. So let's start working on the tool connection now. But before that, I'm just gonna take a quick bathroom break. Whoever is here, just stay here. I'm just gonna be back in a minute. I'll just back in a haste. Don't move, whoever is here. Okay, and we'll be back. So we are already almost done with the project, and I want to at least finish this requirement today itself, so that we can start working on the interface and other cool stuff in the later videos. Follow to find out more. Just subscribe. Whoever comes to this channel, you need to subscribe, guys. You need to increase this community so that we have more people inside of our live streams and we can have more fun in here. Okay, then I'll be back in a second. Just enjoy the gentle music till then. Hello, so I am back. I hope you didn't left me till the time I was in the bathroom. You can't ditch me while I'm at the bathroom, right? You are not that bad. You can't be that rude to me. You can't be that rude to anyone. You are the sweetest people alive because you are watching my stream right now. That makes you so amazing. And yeah, just increase the subscribers, man. I'm doing my projects here. We are working on some cool shit. I'm doing my part. Why are you guys not doing your part? Why are you disappointing me like that? Just subscribe. How much effort does it take to subscribe, right? Like, why are you not subscribing right now when we are doing these fun projects? Someone is lacking, and you need to do your part of the deal. That's not good. But okay, so now we are connecting our tool. to our Gemini client. So we have already given the system instructions that we wanted to give, and now we want to connect our tool. So to connect our tool, we'll have to use MCP here as well. So if you remember, in our Pi project, we have added the Google Gen AI as a dependency, but we have to still add our MCP client as a dependency here. So to do that, I'm gonna go to my client side of things that we haven't worked with yet, and here I'm just gonna add MCP as a dependency with its CLI, because why not? Oh yeah, so when you're UV adding, sometimes you need to use quotations. Cool, I was able to find it. It has updated the dependencies, as we can see in the Pi project, and now I can go back to my Gemini caller, and yeah, so now I need to be able to check if everything is working or not in this case. So inside of my invoice manager, I'm gonna change back to my MCP invoice parser server, which I think is this one. I'm pretty sure it's this one. Let's not worry about that. And here I'm just don't need the optional anymore. And from MCP dot client, gonna import SSC client, or no, stdio. How do you actually set this up? Is the Then for that we'll have to read some Medium article. So let's see. With cloud code. Okay. Whatever, just show me the code, man. Is it using JavaScript? I don't know. I didn't even see any code here, so let's just ignore that one. 0 to MCP hero, building ability tool AI agents in Python. I don't want to be a hero right now. I just want to make a simple MCP tool. Let's not oversaturate what not need to be overcomplicated. And oh my god, how did this, what happened? I think we glitched out. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. There was supposed to be a premium Medium article, wasn't it? My god, I think somehow Google glitched. Now I'm able to access the whole article. That's weird. I hope no one saw that happening. I don't know what happened there, but okay. So you have this client here, and how do you set up a client with GCP is the question that I came looking for. So I set up Gemini. All of those things are done. Now let's see how do we set up the client. So basically, to connect to the server, FCP tools to Gemini tools. Okay. So command is okay. We can set that up. We already set it up in the Cloud OpenAI config, so that part is already ready. So we use the stdio server parameters for it. So I remembered that part is at least, and then stdio transport is enter async context stdio client. I don't want to worry about all of this exit stack and stuff right now. I think it is to form multiple clients. We are only going to be working with a single client right now, so we don't worry about this async context part. But okay, so you basically form the client. Now you have the stdio and self.write, and you create the client session with this. From MCP, I imported the client session and the stdio server parameters. And from mcp.client.stdio, I imported stdio client. Okay. Okay. Self.function declarations is equal to convert MCP tools to Gemini. And how do we convert Convert MCP tools to Gemini. Is that a function? From Gemini tools import? No. Is that the way to do this? That doesn't seem like the correct way of doing this. Let's read some other article. Like, I see how that can be a way of doing it, but he was using some Gemini tool kind of a, either it was a library frame some Python library, or it was his own written code. And I understand, like in OpenAI, how you have to do everything yourself. Like if you are connecting it with the OpenAI client, you can't actually just directly connect your tools the way we did in cloud, but we instead have to manually process all of the tools and get the description from them, input schema from them, and the name from them, which is provided, which is taken care of by the MCP framework. I'm not saying that you have to do it completely manually, but still it seems like a bit of a variable that we are introducing, that it provides more control for sure, that you can also play with the way you want the description, the name, and the input schema to be seen by the model. But at the same time, it increases the chances of bugs you face, or it increases the reasons for which you see this deviated performance where you think MCP is bad because you just didn't use the standard tools that were being used. So that's why I don't want to do that myself as much as possible. And if it is the case that I have to do it myself, then I'm okay. So yeah, you have the Python server params. Then you have, I don't know, they weird. Uh, they called it. They are running Python server with Dino. I don't even know, dude. But okay, you created a client session as Python session, and you listed all the tools as Python MCP tools. Okay, so yeah, you will have to do it manually, I guess. Looking at the two different articles we have already seen, let's do a third one just as a charm, just to make sure this is the only way. Yeah, dependencies are set up, configuration is okay. You set it up, the client we have already set up, model tools all fine. Scene schema, I don't know what that is supposed to mean. Type properties require description, really not sure about what that means. You have the MCP config, MCP servers. Okay, you got your server params, you connect it to your server, handling query and user tools. And yeah, he's also creating the tools manually. Okay, so let's just follow along with the first one, as that is the only medium free article and the other ones are paid, and the other one, and the third one which is not even a medium article, so who cares about that one? Anyway, all of the medium articles are AI generated articles anyway nowadays, so yeah, sucks to suck, but 90% of the medium articles are AI generated nowadays. That's just the truth. Yeah. Okay, so you need to import the stdio server parameters, and you have to create a client session. And instead of importing it from here, which I did previously, you have to import them from MCP directly without a worry of a thing. And here you have to also import so we are right now setting up a standard input output client. So a standard input output client means that we will only be able to access clients that occur locally, that happen to happen locally, the same way we were specifying the config inside of our cloud application. If you have seen that in the previous video, let me just show you if I can just find the file. Yeah, so we have to specify like the run command that we need to run our MCP server right now, and inside of the MCP server itself we had specified that it is a standard input output server for now, as you can see right here. But we'll also explore how we can actually have a server that is hosted independently of our services, so that we can have multiple different services running in parallel, and our MCP is just a server at that point. It doesn't have to run every time you are using it, so that way you don't even have to worry about this kind of a exotic sync call and all of those things that we saw earlier. So we are just going to set it up with the stdio1 just to show you guys how the standard input output one works. And once that is set up, we'll be moving into a service based one, because that will be much more simpler for production. Yeah, so okay, so how do you set this up? Again, the same question arises. Let's just close the server for now, as I don't want to open too many things. And yeah, let's just close all of those things that doesn't matter right now. The only thing we need is the Gemini caller and our readme whenever we'll be able to get done with this requirement. Yeah. So okay, so we have all of these things called out now, and now we need to set up our client. And again, the same way we were doing before, I think we should have a get function for the client as a singleton. So inside of the helper, I'll have a get MCP server. And inside here, I can just specify how I want the MCP server to be initialized. And the way to do it, as we can see from here, is to first set up our server parameters, and that I'm going to do inside of my config. So I'm going to have another file, which is my config.py, where I'm going to store my server parameters. So I'm going to have a class of MCP server, and here I'm going to store my and we don't need this in the Gemini caller then, if that's the case. And we just need the command in here and all of those things. So I'm just going to open my it would have been better if I had my OpenAI configuration, if I had my cloud configurations open here. So I'll have to actually go in the settings in the developer, open the edit config page so that I can see this, open it with that. Yeah, now it's easier for me. So I'm just gonna copy all of this, and paste it here for now, and then I can just keep working with this. So you have a command. The command is uv, and then you have your args, which is a list. So this will be a direct cut paste. And then finally you have your CWD, which is again the file path. So just gonna copy this. And one more thing I can do is, instead of having the path like this, as it is getting repeated 2 times, I'm just gonna have my server path in here as well, and copy all of this, paste it in the server path, and here I'm just gonna store my server path. Cool. So from here we'll have our standard input output server setup, and again the standard input output server means that it's just gonna run using this local command, and this is how it's gonna basically run the. Hey son, we have someone just have a comment. So Saksham Gupta is saying, hey Swam, can you tell me what exactly is the use of MCP in industries and how to use them? Well, an MCP is a communication layer between an API and a LLM. So if you just think about how we are using LLMs for the different things to communicate with them, to have them do the tasks for us, we still have difficulties connecting a LLM to a API, because we have to give it the input schema and everything, and sometimes even after that the LLM is not able to give the right request to the API itself, and that's why we get failed responses and all of that thing happen. But MCP provides that kind of a standard protocol where how do you communicate between an LLM and an API, and if you have that standard protocol, it just allows your LLM to perform better in terms of API calling and stuff, and that way it is okay. So how is it stored? So are we talking about the input schemas and descriptions here? What do you mean by stored is what I'm asking. Oh, MCP is just like a server. So it's mostly like a fast API server. It is built up on the HTTP protocol as in terms of network. And yeah, it just makes some of the endpoints available. So if you have worked with fast API before, you would be familiar with this kind of an architecture where you first define a client and then you keep making this at the rate mcp.tool. So this is basically your at the rate fast API dot get, like dot get dot post, all of those things. So these are just different tools. Each of an endpoint is a tool for a LLM, and it just calls it based on your input schema and your description. Yeah, does that answer your question? It's in some sense it's actually not. That's what it is. Like it's a protocol. So it is just some, like it's just standardizing the way you input the endpoint information to an LLM and how you get the response back from that server. It's just trying to standardize that so that your LLM, from its training, from the fine tuning, all of that it is doing, it knows that how do I exactly handle these kind of input schemas. If I have this kind of an input schema, what kind of inputs do I need to ensure that I give to the endpoint? You can work with normal endpoints as well, but the only problem there is you will have to prompt fine tune yourself, and you have to yourself have instructions inside the LLM that how do you handle different tool calling, how will you identify that the LLM has called a particular tool. So all of that part, so that all is taken care of by the clients, which are our Gemini and stuff, by taking care of how do they want to call the tool from the LLM, and from the server, where how do we provide the information regarding what kind of different endpoints I have and what kind of input schemas they require. So it's just a protocol. It's at the end of the day, it's an endpoint. Yeah, yeah, and I think it does make sense to use them. Yeah, cool. Thanks, Aksham, for being here. While you're at it, I love it if you can just subscribe to the channel and like the video. We are trying to increase the engagement here, and if we have more people like you coming on the stream, it will be more interesting. We'll have more questions, more answers. It's gonna be fun that way. We're gonna build that community. Cool. Good to know. Thanks, man. Just love the engagement part. Okay, so coming back to the problem we are solving, now we need to connect our endpoint basically. So we have created the server, and now we need to connect our Gemini caller tool to the server, and to do that we are first creating a get MCP server, and for that we have created a server params config file. So we have that ready, and now we need to just set up our server. Okay, how did we doing this? So with stdio client as python read and python write. Okay, yeah, everyone is trying to do it as a async operation. I'm not sure why. Like I'm pretty sure it must have started up as async because some LLM must have figured out that if you want async request in it, you have to do this. And somehow in every single blog you see now regarding MCP, they are using this async await kind of a system for it. And I don't know, do you actually need this kind of an async await? Is the MCP server enforcing this, or people are just doing it because it's just what is available all over the internet? If I want to make a single call, if I want to make a single connection, why not just have a sync endpoint? Like I understand the use of async here. Like obviously you will need async when you're dealing with multiple clients and stuff like that, and you will need background threads and everything, and you will also need some kind of socket connection when you're working with streamable clients, where you can, as we saw with cloud, it was able to generate, like it was able to tell us like what requests it is making at each point while it is working with it. But For our POC, we are just gonna try to make it sync first, and if it doesn't work as sync, then we'll only try to go with the async part. And how are they doing this is my question now. So you're gonna get a read and write from the client session. Okay, so you get from stdio client, which is created from server param. So from source utils.config, and from here I'm just gonna use MCP. Oh wow, what a way. Server param, we'll have to import stdio client from here. So this should be it ideally. So this way we are able to create the read and write. Why is it still not detecting stdio client? Okay, so that's why now we know why they're using async. So it does enforce async in that sense. So we can do it like this, I guess. One way of handling this would be to just use a async def here when putting our weight down here. That's not it. Async generator. Async manager context is not awaitable. Okay, so let's try to destructure it later then. Let's first try to make it work, and then we can think about how do we structure it better for. It's not a straightforward structure. I was hoping it to be a straightforward structure, but it is more complicated than that. So yeah, let's move this. Yeah, so these are the imports we need. Helper, we have removed it, and from config, the server parameters still can be in the config. That's fine. Load desktop, we don't need this anymore. And yeah, so coming back to here, now we need to connect our tools and get our tool data. So I think I'm just going to create a class for this. So let's have a class for our MCP client. And inside of this, I don't know if I need to take any input right now, so I'm just going to leave this as it is. Why is it being this? Oh yeah, what am I doing? This is fine. And then I'm going to have ask query, which is all of this that we have just written. Let's just even remove this. And here we're gonna have a self. I'm not sure. I don't know what I'll need from that self here. I can just actually this can be something we can do. So instead of using this, we're just gonna use self.gemini client everywhere. And I have a better idea for you. Oh yeah, good. I'm listening. I'm just gonna keep this right here. Try building something which might be helping out the dev community. Okay, but I think everyone is doing that. Is it not? Cursor, Windsurf, all of these different tools. They're just trying to build the whole community with AI, and I think the dev community is good enough to help themselves in this case. Not sure about that one. Like, I understand your point. The but the idea seems too vague. I don't know what to do with it. Try to think further in the line. Capabilities. What capability? Complete libraries. Or even better, fine-tuned foundational model. I don't know how you're thinking it's better to build a fine-tuned foundational model than actually building a project out of it, because fine-tuning is something that anyone can do. Like, you just need a data set and you need some kind of a library to do it. And then there are already complete libraries to do the fine-tuning for you. So not sure if I really want to do that. By the way, order this oatmeal fruit pudding from Eat Fit. Looks very appetizing. Yeah, just gonna try this. Hmm. Yeah, that's good. Like, it doesn't taste that good, to be honest. Uh, but it's like it's healthy and it tastes okay, kind of a good. So yeah. But yeah, I understand your point where you are coming from, like building complete libraries or fine-tuned models. But I think like the community is working really well with all the MCP and stuff like that. So there are already tools available that will give you the Gemini client itself. So what I'm doing right now here will be available in some kind of a library if you just get up search for it, and you'll also be able to find a ton of fine-tuned models in that sense. But the whole idea is to, yeah, just build actually a usable product out of it. Like, all of this goes into the research side, building a library, building a fine-tuned model, and I just want to work on actual product side that people can use, give me feedback, and then we can optimize the product and actually bring some use out of the MCP LLM instead of just building better MCPs and better LLMs, because I think the community has been doing that at an extremely fast pace. They are just trying to build better LLMs, better MCPs, but uh, the product use case of it is still catching up with time. Like, you don't see too many products still using LLMs. Like, even though the LLMs have been here for so long, you don't see code being written by, like, complete code bases written by LLMs right now. You don't see complete games written by LLMs. Vibe coding is a thing, but it's still not like you have LLM as a product. You see so many image generative LLMs and video generation LLMs, but you don't see movies produced by LLMs. So that's the use case of it. Like, you will be able to use it in small animations and small edits and stuff like that, but you are not taking it to the production level. So I think there's a lack in terms of making the product out of LLMs and just making LLMs or all of these different tools. But so yeah, that's why I think I want to work. Like, I started working on this, and in fact, actually, I just started working on this because I was working on a POC for MCP, and I just thought of this idea in the stream. So if you see the stream from yesterday, you will see I just came up with this idea randomly, just to showcase what MCPs can do, and it turned out to be interesting. And yeah, we got some interesting input from Ayush, which was one of the guy who was in the stream yesterday, and he just suggested we can make an analytical model out of it, which can do forecasting and stuff based on the invoice data we uploaded. And it just intrigued me at the point, and that's why I'm here. That's why we are doing this today as well. So yeah, that's the case from my side. But okay, now let's try to understand how can we connect everything up. So we have all of this ready for us, and we somehow need to connect to our MCP server so that our LM can actually communicate with it. And no, I don't see a nice way of connecting these things. Like, what is this async await and all of these things? Like, isn't there a simple way to connect this? You see how complicated this looks, like exit stack, async exit stack, all of this craziness. It just looks crazy to me. Like, do we need to go in such depths of Python to just work with MCP? I don't think so. But okay, anyway, we'll end up using his function because I don't want to waste too much time doing this. And yeah, let's make it async. Why not? And inside of this, I'm just gonna have my several params are already stored inside of a helper, so I don't need to worry about them. Uh, Not even a helper in the config. So I already have my server params, and after that, I just need to stdio transport. And you specify exit stack on the top, which is your async exit stack. And we need to put self in here. And inside of the exit stack, put enter async context. And we have the stdio client in here. This is how you build the stdio client with params. So this will build in your stdio transport, and after that we just need the read and write. Which is equal to stdio transport. And then we are just going to create a session, await the session to initialize, and then have all the tools. So I don't think we need to sell the read and write itself. So I'm just going to have them as stdio and write. Instead of using this, I'm just going to use stdio and write. So this should work. And then we're going to await the cell dot session dot initialize. So this will initialize our session, and then we can just get all the tools. So here I need to convert the MCP tools to Gemini, and I don't see that function anywhere till now. He's using, I think he's using some kind of a library to do that, as far as I can tell, because I don't see any other function for this. Is he using a library though? Because I can't see any library. Gemini config.py, API keys and stuff, and then you have the Gemini tools, tool formatting for Gemini. Does he provide a GitHub for this? Non-member link is fine. You can just read it in the non-member link actually. Yeah, so do you provide a GitHub for this? Uh, yep, he does. Great. So inside of the Gemini tools, I should be able to find the convert MCP tools to Gemini and how it's doing it. So the basic idea is to get the name, the description, and parameters out of them. So that's exactly what he's doing. Parameters is clean schema, tools.input schema, and there is something else he is doing to this as well. So schema utils. That's also something we'll have to read now. So if you go inside schema utils, this is what he is using, which is recursively removes title fields from a JSON schema to make it Gemini compatible. Okay, that makes sense. So this is something Gemini specific, I think, because I didn't use anything like this when I was working with OpenAI, and I don't want to work with OpenAI in the stream because OpenAI is paid and I don't want to pay myself. And let's just tell it that it's a static method because it actually is, or we can just put it into utils. You know what, that will be better. We can just have it inside helper. Yeah, so this way it should be able to handle it. And here we don't need such functions. Here we'll just get the tools, and we need to set up the tools somehow. So I'm just going to return the tools from here just like that. I don't want this function to be too complicated. And this, I don't know, the way he's doing this again feels like AI generated code to me, because why do you have to have it in a different variable again? And you could just turn it with this, and same with this one, because why do I need to do it twice? Just do it as stdio right here, rather than introducing another line of code which can cause confusion later. And okay, so that's fine. Now we have the response and we have all the tools. Now inside of here we're gonna have the self dot tools is equal to connect. Yep. And here is where I can do the actual parsing of it. So from the helper I'll have to call another function which is clean schema. And here is where I can use his code. So if I go back to clients, MCP client, and Gemini tools, I can see this code. I'm gonna copy this, go back to my helper, create another function which will do this for me, and I don't need to worry about this. I'm gonna move this at the top. And here I have the clean schema, Then I have the convert MCP tool definitions to Gemini compatible format for function calling. And here is where I'm going to iterate through my tools, which is going to be given to me. And I'm going to clean their schema and call it parameters, or we can just parameters is fine. And then you have function declaration, and we wrap it in a tool object and append it to Gemini tools. So this way, okay, so this is how you format the Gemini tools. Actually, this is the crux of it all. Argument dict cannot be assigned to parameter of type schema. Okay, so there's something missing from all of this, which might have just been changed recently. That can be the most probable answer to all of this. But how long has it been till MCP has been built? So I don't know why this will be something that's happening. So this is already in the model concepts protocols.clients, right? So why do I need to do it manually? There should just be, ideally, there should just be a way to convert it to Gemini for me right here. Convert MCP tools to Gemini. Wait a minute. I don't need these things inside of a caller, right? I can just, so MCP. What is this? Is this something else? Oh, this is his personal repo. Oh, okay. Then it makes sense. Okay, my bad. I thought it was the actual MCP GitHub. No, you're doing too much. This is going to be a function call, and here is where I'm going to convert MCP tools to Gemini. What it actually returns. But okay, now that we have this ready, we're going to go back to our helper and see what is the issue it is facing. It is saying the function type is actually not matching, but it looks to be working fine for this guy. So somehow either we don't have schema. Do we have a schema? Do we have a class schema here? If I can just convert the schema to this, does that work? What does this require? Zero positional arguments. Oh, this is not the way. I'm just gonna try running this once. Maybe it can just be a type annotation error. I'm not sure. Because this is exactly what he is using. And everything seems to be working fine. So I'm really not sure about why would that be the case. And I don't want to invest too much time into how to convert things to the proper schema. That's not something that intrigues me. I just want the tools to connect, and I'll be happy at that. So I wrapped it in tool and I got Gemini tools from it. So that's all I'm gonna worry about right now. And I have the tools now, is what I imagine. I'm gonna back to how they were using this. Okay. So I have the tools ready now. Right. And now what I want to do is I want to be able to process a query, which was my ask query function initially. So this is again going to be a async function, I guess. Query and images, that's what I need, very personal to me, not an issue. The prompt, I just created that, that's okay. Type.content role user. Oh, is that a way you can describe things? I didn't know that. I think that's what it takes by default. That's why I was not worried about it. What is all of this? User prompt con. No, no, no. Okay, this is different then. I'm not sure about why are they using this. It has its own part types. Yeah, I don't think we need to use. Good to know that there's something like this, but I don't think we need to use this right now. We have our messages. We just have to go to our responses, and inside the responses here, inside of tools, we need to specify serve.tools. That's the only thing that should change from our side, and that should give us our final text. And how are they handling the final text? That's actually something I was interested in knowing previous video as well. So we are gonna always have a single candidate. That's what we have given, but let's just write this code line by line to understand how they are exactly handling the text. If is ends. Okay, looks too complicated. Oh, we're doing this because of the function call. Ah, okay, this makes more sense now. If part dot function call, not a non attribute of none. Wow, why are we getting a none? So candidate in response dot candidates. Oh yeah, it was not able to figure it out here as well. So this is fine. All of this. Yeah, let's just print it ourselves, or let's just store them somewhere so that we can present them later. And where do we get the response for the tool? Await cell.session.call tool. Okay, so we have still to call the tool. We're gonna wait on it. So we received the call. We got the tool name and arguments we want to try. Then we'll send it in the try except block. Will result as but okay, function response result.content. We are getting the result.content from this. and this is your function response. So I think now we are actually, when all of this has happened, we are ready to append to our tool calls. Tool calls append tool name. This is gonna be tool name. Your and finally your. So this is what we are gonna be storing for each one of our function call. And this is your fonts. Cool. So this is working now, and in case of accept, what am I doing? I think I've been coding for way too long now. Function response gonna be error. There is also a way to get the tracebacks, right? I think it will be better if you can just give the traceback as well. So how do you get tracebacks from exception? Get traceback from exception in Python. Stack format and print stack traces with the Python traceback module. Yeah, this is exactly what we know. Again, eating the oatmeal soup pop from ifit. Yeah. So traceback dot print traceback print exception. I just wanna get it. I don't even wanna print it. Format exception, right? How to format a direction information in Unicode. So format exception, similar to print exception, returns a string rather than a file. That's exactly